Hello there my fantastic, precious, and lovely friends. How are you? I hope you're doing great. Okay, so I really would have liked to post this yesterday, but I fell asleep at 3 AM while editing, so yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, we are finally proceeding with the series. In fact, this will be the confrontation of IwaOi and SakuAtsu. I really hope you'll like it, and you won't be disappointed. Currently I'm working on the new series and on the 5K special, and I hope you'll like them, and I'm also working on the Discord server, hoping to set it up as soon as possible. Remember that I love you so much. Chotomata guys, before we start I want to recommend you one of the best and coolest sites where to buy anime merch and girls stuff with affordable prices and very good quality. Its name is Beautiful Halo and they seriously have amazing things, like look at these, they have Haikyuu sweaters and sets of every team, My Hero Academias, Attack on Titans, Dragon Balls, Demon Slayers, Hunter x Hunters, Fairy Tales merch and a lot of other animes merch. And look at this amazing girls' clothes. They are really cool. If you want to buy from them, which I recommend, you also have some discount codes in my description, so check them out. So what to say, take advantage of the discounts, and remember to use the links in my description, to buy yourself a lot of cool stuff. Okay, now that everything has been said, I'll leave you to the video, enjoy. Iwaizumi was running, like if the answer he wanted from Oikawa was what life was depending from. He just wanted to hear that word, those simple two letters, from Oikawa's mouth. Just those will be sufficient, then I'll be okay and everything will be just fine. But even if he was convinced of what he was thinking, his heart was telling him that it was not okay, because, after all, he was aware of his shitty behavior. He just didn't want to realize it, he didn't want to believe it, because by doing that, the walls he built around him would have inevitably fallen, showing his true, insecure, and needy of love nature, and that's exactly what he didn't want to, so that's why he was running to his boyfriend's house, hoping to hear what he wanted to keep that stability he spent years creating. He was afraid of changes. He arrived to the driveway where was Oikawa's house. He was out of breath, but didn't stop running. In front of his boyfriend's house there was another little street that conducted straight in front of his house. Oikawa used to take that street, and that day was no different. As Iwaizumi was getting closer to the house, a brown-haired tall guy came out of that street, hidden by the walls of a house. Oikawa was looking at the now dark sky, in thoughtful expression. He turned his head, and in shock stopped abruptly, but Iwaizumi didn't. He continued running towards Oikawa. He was sweating, because of the 1.5-kilometer rush he did. He arrived in front of Oikawa and then stopped, putting his hands on Oikawa's arms, and bending a little to catch his breath. His boyfriend was startled and shocked, so he jumped a bit when Iwaizumi touched him. When he raised back, Oikawa was smiling at him. He thought, phew, he's not mad. I knew it, I'm an idiot. Why did I run all the way here for him to smile at me? Whatever. He then turned his head to his left for not having to keep up with that smile. Oikawa didn't say a word. Iwaizumi then spoke, you know, I really thought you were angry, or something shit to him. Oikawa then his stupid proud instinct made him say, but even if you were, I'm here, just because I was near, and then I saw you, and said to myself, why don't I make sure that he isn't mad at me? Still silence. Iwaizumi was annoyed by him not saying anything. The others said I was too mean to you and other bullshit, but I'm sure they were just messing with him. Crack. That silence broke. Iwaizumi stopped talking and opened his eyes wisely, still looking to another direction. Slowly he turned his gaze to the guy standing in front of him. He was still smiling. Under those heartbreaking tears, his sobs broke that silence that Iwaizumi was silently appreciating, because it was reassuring him, because as long as he was silent without saying anything, Iwaizumi would have not had to ask him that question. Oh Oikawa, now you told me everything, you can go home. Why are you crying? Did something happen? He was just pretending. He knew exactly what was going on. He was incredibly scared. I'm fine. Just go. Oikawa was clenching his fists, and Iwaizumi saw it. You're not fine. Oikawa took a deeper breath, and squeezed his eyes. No, in fact, I'm not okay. Iwaizumi's barrier started to become weak. Then what's the problem? Everything in the radius of I meter is the problem. We are the problem. Iwaizumi's heart ached. It started to beat faster, and he was sweating. Cold. I don't think there's a problem. Iwaizumi, please stop. We both know how the things are. Iwaizumi gulped, while his boyfriend's crying got worse. I know. Since we were kids, I know how you act, and what you do in situations you don't want to face. You just ignore them, and while you were doing this, it consumed me more and more. I tried my best with you, but you were just ignoring the situation, and soon I realized that I was the situation. Oikawa, I know. Listen to me please. I really hope that, by keeping going as you wanted, would have led to concrete results, but you didn't put even the minimum effort into our relationship. I know things that nobody else knows about you. I was always by your side, so I thought that it couldn't have been a trust issue. I never wanted to pressure you with talking about this topic, because I know that you're not good at expressing your feelings. But now the question arises spontaneously. If you were just going to insult me and think of me as a nuisance, why did you even start to date me? Oikawa was crying desperately. He was looking straight into Iwaizumi's eyes, who was caught by surprise by that speech. Oikawa just spit all the facts he was trying to avoid. As he tried to say something, he lowered his head. I see. Oikawa hoped to get a response from his boyfriend, but seeing him avoiding even his gaze made his heart break. He started heading to his door. As I said, you should go home, Toru. As he heard that word, Oikawa stopped walking towards his home, but he didn't turn to look at Iwaizumi. He lowered his head too. The moment of asking that question arrived. An idiot. Oikawa was startled by that question, but he responded, even if his voice was still broken by his sobs. I know you. After all, you're the Iwaizumi I've always known, and I know you want me to say no. Iwaizumi's hopes increased, but I cannot continue like this, lying to you and to myself. Iwaizumi was biting his lip, looking down in a scared and painful expression. The truth is that yes, you are an idiot, probably the biggest one I've ever met. Iwaizumi's eyes got teary, but of course he wouldn't have cried in front of him. He then murmured in a painful laugh, so Cicero was right after all, hahaha. Oikawa couldn't hear what he said. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Oikawa didn't respond. Iwaizumi took his hands off Oikawa's arms and started heading to the corner where he came from to get back home. Or at least this is what Oikawa thought while getting inside his house. The truth is that as Iwaizumi turned the corner, he sat there on the ground for some time that seemed infinite to him, crying, cursing himself for being such a terrible person. Sakusa was running to Atsumu's house. In the rush, he forgot to take a mask before leaving the house. He was feeling exposed and in danger, but that wasn't his problem at the moment. Atsumu was more important. Atsumu got back home. He didn't know how to feel. Of course he was sad because of what happened, but spending that time without thinking about it really helped him. He was lost in his thoughts. I don't know. Why did they have to do it? I wonder what is my Sakusa doing? At that thought, sad expression appeared on his face. He opened the door and got into the house. Osamu was in the living room on the couch, looking at the wall with an empty expression. As he heard the door opening, he turned his gaze to his twin on the doorstep. He stood up and went straight to Atsumu, put his hands on his arms, and looked at him with a sad look. He wanted to ask him about Suna, but then he remembered that Atsumu was involved in that messed up situation too. Hey, Atsumu looked at him with one raised eyebrow. How are you? Atsumu was surprised. He and his brother weren't the type to worry much about each other, but he appreciated it, and also the fact that he realized his mistake made him proud of Osamu, but he never told him about it. He was too proud. I actually don't know how. Osamu let out a deep breath. If you wanted to. Atsumu laughed at that and responded without letting him finish the sentence. Haha, don't worry. And yes, Suna was really sad. At that sentence, Osamu looked at him with a guilty and sad expression. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. Osamu lowered his head and then got out of Atsumu's way. Atsumu looked at him one more time with a face that seemed to say, I'm sorry for you, but it's your fault. He then went upstairs to his room to enjoy a piece of spending some time alone. Sakusa arrived to Atsumu's door. He stared at it for some seconds. He then started to knock on the door vigorously. While doing it he thought, am I really supposed to be here? But now it was too late. He wanted and needed to talk to him. He didn't want to feel like a disappointment to himself anymore. After punching the door repeatedly, Osamu, who was still shook by his brother's response, went to open the door. Finding their Sakusa out of breath in front without a mask surprised him. Sakusa, why are you and Atsumu here? He was catching his breath on the doorstep. Yes, but as he heard that he got into the house running, not caring about Osamu. IwaOi Sakusa. He was running upstairs followed by Osamu. They arrived to Atsumu's bedroom door. Sakusa opened it abruptly and found him sitting on his bed with his head lowered. As Atsumu heard the door opening, he raised his gaze and opened his eyes wisely at the sight of Sakusa on his doorstep. Sakusa. He then noticed a particular. He stood up quickly and went to his desk where he kept a box of them. Sakusa couldn't say a word, mostly when his boyfriend covered half of his face, lifting his sweater to his nose and gave him a face mask. Take this. Sakusa felt like the worst person in the world. He took it with a trembling arm and lowered his head with a guilty expression. Atsumu was going back to his bed when Sakusa murmured, Atsumu, you remind me of him a lot. Atsumu didn't turn to look at the black-haired guy standing behind him, but he was listening carefully to each word. Both so joyous, both so bright, both so strong. Atsumu was clenching his fists and biting his lip, squeezing his eyes. Of course you don't know who I'm referring to, but that's okay. I didn't tell you about it. I'm sorry Atsumu. I really am. Atsumu was just standing in front of Sakusa without looking at him. Osamu was watching the scene silently from the doorstep. They stayed like that without saying a word, until that situation made Sakusa feel a pressure in his chest. Atsumu, please say something. At least you. Atsumu was contracting all his muscles, and then finally spoke. Do you think that is sufficient? Do you think I'm that strong? Do you think that saying sorry will be enough? I thought you knew me at least a little. Sakusa opened his eyes wisely. It was like if someone threw a knife directly into his chest. Wow. I'm the one who is sorry Sakusa. I'm sorry for being a nuisance to you. I'm sorry for being annoying and clingy. I'm sorry for just wanting to be loved. Then Sakusa heard something that broke his heart. Atsumu was crying. Atsumu, are you crying? He then turned in to look at the black-haired guy. His nose was red, his eyes were full of tears and his cheeks were wet. Yes I am. I wanted to do it for months now. I just hoped that by the time going I wouldn't have had a reason to do it anymore. Atsu, well haha. I was wrong. The reasons just became more and more. Today I realized I couldn't do it anymore. Wait Atsumu, we can talk about it. He sighed noisily. No Sakusa, a healthy relationship doesn't work like this. You can't tell me that we can talk only when I'm in this pitiful state. I've always tried to work things out before getting to the non-return point, but you always said me things like I don't have time. I have to study. I'll have practice to do. Or just don't annoy me. I know there is something bigger under your behavior, but I respect you too much to pressure you and make you say something you wouldn't talk about spontaneously. His crying was getting worse, and he felt like choking because of it. Sakusa didn't know what to say. He was just staring at the blonde guy in front of him crying because of his fucking shitty behavior. His heart was breaking. So please, do the same and respect me, not as your boyfriend, but as a human being. That last sentence hit Sakusa into his heart. It was a drop that broke the camel's back. Sakusa had his confirm. He was a disappointment. He gulped noisily and was about to say something. But, you don't have to say anything. Just leave me alone. Please. Sakusa felt his eyes getting full of tears. So he lowered his head, he turned back, and walked to the doorstep where was Osamu. As he arrived there he said one last thing, just a murmur, but loud enough to be heard. Thank you. Atsumu looked at him with a sad expression, and then returned to his bed, where he buried his face into the pillow, and started crying more and more. Sakusa got out of the room, and closed the door. He left Osamu in front of his twin's door and went downstairs. As he was out of the grey-haired guy's sight, he started running to the principal door and then got out, clear drops falling from his eyes, like the ones falling from the sky. Okay guys, this was it. I really hope you liked it, and tell me your thought in the comments. I'm so sorry for making Sakusa and Iwaizumi appear so bad, but it was just how at first impact they looked to me, but I really love them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my videos, and for all the support. Now I'll go. Remember to study well, take care of yourself and stay safe.